share. I'm going to do my best to condense. This is actually a 4-week course that I teach. And so I'm actually just pulling a piece out of it because I think this is the foundational piece, and this is the piece that we tend to miss the mark a lot in our own personal lives. And so I typically teach it virtually, so this is my first time actually physically doing this demonstration. And so we're going to pretend that this jar is full. Okay? Everybody with me? This jar is full.
That jar is full.
Yes, there's more rocks all the way up here to the top. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. I love you guys. Just to clarify a little bit, I am actually a business coach, but my area of expertise is in personal productivity and creating systems and processes, both in business and in our lives. And so we all, I'm going to do a little experiment. How many of you raise your hand if you have your own life to run? That should be everybody. Okay, keep your hand up if you have a spouse, significant other, partner, or have ever had a spouse, significant other, or anything in your life. Keep your hand up. How many of you have children or fur children? Keep your hand up. Or godchildren. Keep your hand up. How many of you are employed by someone or own your own business? How many of you participate in community service activities or participate in activities for your church and do other things? Okay, everyone still has their hand up in this room. That means we wear a lot of, that means we wear a lot of hats, ladies. That means there's a lot of balls that we got juggling, and a lot of times we find ourselves in a situation where we are just outright overwhelmed by all that we have to get done. And so we're always looking for ways to be more efficient and manage our time better, right? So we're always looking at time management. But time management actually is a myth. And I say that because it's really specifically focused on how do I get all these little things done that need to be done, whether they're big or small, throughout my day, and squeeze it all in. But it doesn't have any type of way for you to evaluate those pieces to find out if it's something that you should be doing to begin with. Because just because something needs to be done doesn't necessarily mean you're the one that has to do it. And oftentimes we feel like if someone says something, oh, such and such needs to be done, we're like, it has to be me to do it. Or we're reluctant to have someone else do it for us because we're like, well, they're not going to do it the right way. Can I get an amen on that? Mm-hmm. Yes. How many is that? Oh, we do that. We're like, they're not going to do it the right way, or they're not going to do it the way I want it done. Mm-hmm. And so we will just hold on to it even though we are already overwhelmed. Right. And so the Perfectly Unbalanced Life is all about finding the right kind of balance. And so because balance, what does that mean? It means equality, right? But the things that we have in our lives, everything is not equal. Mm-hmm. You cannot dedicate an equal amount of time to all the different aspects of your life because there really and truly are not enough hours in the day. Mm-hmm. We all are given 168 hours in a week at the beginning of the week, whether you say Monday is your first day of the week or Sunday is whatever day that is, you're delegated 168 hours. Mm-hmm. Every single one of us. That's all you get. No one person gets more hours than another person. It's the great equalizer. And so but there are people around us who seemingly have a ton of time. They're always getting stuff done. Mm-hmm. And you feel like you're spinning your wheels. And it's because they simply have focused on specific priorities to drive their schedule or to take up their time versus just everything that comes their way. Mm-hmm. So, what is this?
It's full.
It's full, right? Okay, all right. So, this jar right here is actually full. And these little rocks in here, these little pebbles, represent watching TV, playing on Facebook, out with our girlfriends, and maybe like our house or our car, the work we do, is all these things. And what happens is we fill up our 168 hours that we get each week with all these small things. And then we try to squeeze in the bigger priorities. Doesn't really work, does it? But if you begin with what your priorities are, so what are some things, and I'm interactive so y'all can talk back to me. So what are some things that you would consider priorities? Really, probably like 10 true priorities in life. What are some things that you could think of? Health. Food. That kind of falls under health, but
sleep, more sleep.
That to me would fall under health. So I'm talking about like big picture.
Like professional.
So education,
Children.
family relationships,
Faith,
spirituality. All those things, those are big things. What our purpose is. All those are the big things in life. And so what happens when you fill everything up with all those smaller things, you find yourself frustrated because the things that really are important to you, you don't have time to. So you put off going on that vacation. You put off spending time being present with your children. And I'm not talking about being in the same space with your spouse or your children. I'm talking about phone off or in another room, and you're really and truly being present in the moment. And so this represents, these rocks in here represent the big things in life. But then you have the smaller things, like where you live, the kind of car you drive. Perhaps it's even the relationships that you have. All of that. It's found its way into what's left there. Then this sand, this is going to represent all those smaller things, those really, really small things, like the hanging out on Facebook and whatever other activities it is that you do for leisure time, and that they're kind of important, but they're not really all that important. It represents that. I'm going to pour this in here. And I'm making a mess. So now, remember we established before that it was already full, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yet, there was still room for more. So when you start building your schedule with your day, your schedule with the things that are most important for you, you still have time for the other things in life. But when you do the opposite, then you no longer have time for the things that really and truly are important for you. And so it's important for us to evaluate all the different activities and things that we have on our schedule to find out whether or not it's something that I really need to be doing. And so, but so many of us make there's three major mistakes that we tend to make when it comes to creating our schedule or building our schedule or going about a day. The very first one is that we just don't think about it. We don't think about what our priorities are. And so we just get up and we're like, we have our to-do list, whether it's on paper or in our brain, and we're like, okay, what do I need to do today? And we just get on with our day, just go about doing the things that find their way onto our plate that day. And it may be somebody comes into, if you work for someone else, maybe someone comes into your office, it's like, I need X, Y, and Z. And so you just add that to the list of things that you need to do that day without questioning whether or not it's something that you need to do. Email is really bad for that. I've heard email referred to as a to-do list that other people can write on. And we're so consumed with our email. And one of the things that I've gotten to the place where I'm not in my email all day long. I look at it, I open it up, look at it in the morning, do what, things that I can do within like 2 minutes. I go ahead and do it then and delete the email or archive it, whatever I need to do, and then I close the email down, or I just minimize it and I'm not in it until my next allotted time. I try to go in 3 times a day just because my boss is kind of a stickler for that kind of stuff. But if it were up to me, it'd be once a day. I'd only be in it once a day, so that I can really focus on the things that are really and truly important that need to get done that day. But a lot of us end up spending a lot of time in that type of zone, in the small things that, yes, they're important. Yes, they still need to get done, but are they going to drive you in the direction of where it is that you're trying to go? So especially as an entrepreneur, that's something that you really should learn to master, and be intentional about what it is that you're building onto your schedule on a day-to-day basis. Because if you're not filling it with the right activities, you're not going to be in business very long. Yes, you have to have a social media presence. Yes, you have to maintain your website. Yes, you have to have good customer service. But if you never make a sales call, you're never going to have any revenue. But a lot of people spend so much time focusing in their business, focusing on, getting that social media post out there, trying to make their website all pretty. Let me have this gorgeous designed business card and all these things, but they never get about the business of doing business. And it's simply because our priorities are out of whack. We're not intentional. We don't set our priorities. Then, for those people who actually do take the time to think about priorities, make it too complex. We're like, I got 12 priorities. No, you don't. You really don't. I was doing some research a couple months ago on the word priority. And priority, we as an American culture pluralized priority. Priority was never intended to be a plural word. It's your number one priority. It is one thing. What is the one thing? And so if you can take whatever the things that are most important to you and condense them down into, since I know how we are, and you got 12 priorities right now, I'm going to allow you to have 3. I'm going to allow you to condense it down to 3. But really and truly, you can only do one thing really well. When you start adding in additional things, then it's a distraction. It starts pulling you away from the thing that you really need to do, really need to be focusing on. And so really focus on priority number 1. Make it less complex. Make it less complicated. Make it easy. Life is complex enough. Why do you want to overcomplicate things that are simple? I had a thought and it just slipped from me. But then the third mistake that people make is that they don't actually live out what their priorities are. Oh, that was, thank you, Lord. Your priorities, just because you set them today, doesn't mean that they will remain the same for your entire life. We have different seasons of our life when our priorities will shift. Several years ago, in 2014, I was a non-traditional student, and so in 2014, I was graduating from college with honors with my bachelor's degree, and I was super excited, and my plan was to take 2 weeks off, and then I was going to start studying for the GMAT so I could go straight into, to take the GMAT and go into a master's MBA program the following spring. Well, instead of getting that 2 weeks off to focus on, to relax and then go into studying, which was going to be my priority, I had to do a complete life priority shift, because I was diagnosed with breast cancer 2 weeks later. So rather than being focused on, how many of you know it was going to be impossible for me to study for an entrance exam while being faced with having to have major surgery and recovery time and all the mental stuff that goes along with that. So I had to shift my priorities to my priority to be my health was number one. School could wait, because what would it matter if I got into the MBA program if I was no longer here? So that became, okay, let's put that on the shelf. And so you have to recognize that just because you set your priorities right now to be this thing, I'm going to focus on this thing, something may happen where you can then say, okay, I need to shift. One of the things that I'm big on quarterly planning, and so each quarter has a priority. Each quarter has a specific focus. So I'm going to focus on this right now, get it to a place where it needs to be, or my desired goal, and then shift into the next thing. So I'm constantly shifting my focus and my priorities to match where it is that I'm trying to go in life. And so just go ahead and take the time to set them, knowing that it's not concrete. Because a lot of times we think, like, well, I said that this was what it was going to be, and I got to stick with that. Well, yeah, but now that doesn't mean change it every day.
Right.
I'm not saying change it every day, but when the situation arises, then it's important for you to make that shift. So now back to the third one. So a lot of people, they set their priorities, but then they don't live it out. We all know that person, and we may have been guilty of it ourselves, where we say that, I'm gonna take care of myself. I'm gonna start exercising and I'm gonna eat right. I'm gonna go to the gym and all this, and we're super excited. And then we got that. We're driving down Monroe Street and we see that hot now sign on, and the car just automatically goes. And so we're being pulled in all these different directions, and we're not really living out what we say it is that is our priority. So when you set it, then be intentional about living it out. And don't set it just because it sounds good. This is what it sounds like. This is what I should have as my priority. Is it really something that means something to you? Because if it doesn't, you're not ever going to live it out.
Right.
If it's something that somebody else set for you, it'll be too easy for you to be drawn in by that gorgeous beacon of light known as the hot now sign. It gets me every time. So make sure you're living out what your priorities are. Now you may be asking, okay, Trissetta, well, how do I do that? How do I go about setting my priorities? So the first thing is be conscious about it. Make a list. Write out all the big rocks in your life. So do like 3 columns. In the middle, do all the big rocks in your life. In the left column, write current, and then number it 1 to 10. How you feel like it is currently in your life. If you really think, sit and reflect and be honest with yourself about where it is as a priority in your life, then number it. Give it assign it a value, 1 to 10. Then on the right side, where do you want it to be? What is your desired outcome? Number it 1 to 10. And if you see a huge disparity, bless you. Let's say health is one of the things that you really think is your priority, but then when you're honest with yourself, like, oh, well, maybe I ended up giving it a 3, but I really want to have it be a 9, then whichever category has the greatest disparity between where it currently is and where you want it to be, that is what I would make as your priority. Because you can make up the most territory, you can make up the most ground by actually beginning there. Because you're saying that okay, this is what, my health is really important to me, but I've ranked it, it's a 3 and I really want it to be a 9. Okay, this is what I want to focus on. And then create some sort of action plan. What am I going to do? What does that look like? One of the exercises that I give to my clients is to, after they do this exercise, then do a visualization exercise. What does that look like? If I'm living this priority at level 9, and that's what level I want it at, what does that look like? And close your eyes and actually envision what type of things I'm doing. Who am I with? How do I feel? What is the whole atmosphere? Just completely immerse yourself in that experience. How many of you have ever done a visualization exercise before? Quite a few of you. I want to do, let me see how much time I have. We'll do a quick exercise to give you, to share, so I can show you, for those of you who have never done a visualization exercise before, the power of it. Okay, so I want everybody to close your eyes. Okay. Imagine we finished this session, your day is done, and you're getting in your car and you're heading home. So you're driving down the road and you pull into your driveway or your parking space, wherever it is that you live, and you've pulled into your driveway or parking space. You turn off the engine, you get out of the car, and you walk to your door. You put the key in, and you open up the door and enter into your home. You're thirsty, so you walk into your kitchen. Imagine yourself, you're in your kitchen at home, and you walk over to the refrigerator and open the door. Inside, you see something yellow. It's small, kind of oblong. And you grab it and you pull it out. It's a lemon. You put it on the counter and cut it in half. And then you take 1/2 of it and take a great big bite. Open your eyes. I saw several of you literally pucker your lips, because even though you weren't physically tasting a lemon, you were right there in that moment imagining what that tasted like. How many of you actually literally saw yourself kind of in your kitchen at home when you were doing that? So it's powerful. It's powerful. And so by doing that exercise of seeing yourself where you want to be, you actually train your brain to think that it's already done. Your brain doesn't know the difference between you actually doing it and you imagining that you're doing it. So as you go forward to move towards whatever it is that you're going for, it's familiar to your body. You've already trained it to what it is that it needs to do, and it becomes easier for you to actually attain whatever it is that you're going after. Mm-hmm. So that's why I shared for you to do actually don't skip that part. Mm-hmm. Don't just write it down. See yourself and be as imaginative as you can be. Add some things, and if you find it challenging, just simply, I guided you through that process. If you find it challenging, write it out. Write it out first on paper, and then close your eyes and imagine what you just wrote out. And I guarantee you, if you do that, you'll start adding additional things when you actually close your eyes and visualize. It'll become more grandiose. And so visualization is a very powerful tool to help you achieve what it is that you want to do. So again, keep them simple. Just 1 to 3. Let me give y'all 3. 1 to 3 priorities, and come up with a plan with action steps that's gonna move you in the direction of your goal. And I'm not talking about big, huge leaps, because we get caught up in that. What's the smallest baby step that you can do that can move you in the direction. It's called Kaizen. It's like the smallest baby step that'll move you in the direction of it. Because a lot of times we're looking for that big win. And because we don't get that big win, we get discouraged. It's our goals are too far off. Yes, you need to have annual goals. Yes, you need to have 5-year goals and 10-year goals. But why not have a daily goal? What's the one thing that I can do today that's going to move me closer to where I want to be? So break it down into tiny, teeny, tiny, small, bite-sized pieces. You ever heard the saying, how do you eat elephant? One bite at a time. So if we had an elephant standing here right in front of us, and I told you, okay, you got to eat that elephant, you're probably like overwhelmed. I'm not even hungry. Yeah, it's lunchtime, but I just got unhungry because I know I can't eat all that. It's too big, it's too much. Well, maybe then you just go cut off the tail, cut off a small piece, the tail or an ear, and you just start there. It's like, I'm just going to focus on this one. I'm not going to focus on the big, huge thing. I'm just going to take this one piece and focus on this. And once I get that, then I'll move to another part. But back up from it. Don't look at that big, huge goal that you're looking at. Focus on the small goal that's going to give you that quick win. Because then, and reward yourself. Give yourself some sort of reward. It could be tiny. It could be as simple as, I'm going to buy new nail polish. Or in the case of Dr. Asha, I'm going to go get my gourmet popsicle. Yes. So something that you would look forward to. But you have to I'll give it this caveat, if you don't achieve your goal, you don't go do it anyway. So it gives you something to work towards, and you get that small win, and you get that little pat on the back, that atta-girl that you really want to help keep you going forward in the thing that you're wanting to do. And then the last thing, do it. It's so simple. Just live it. Live what you say you want. Live out. If you want to go back to school, if education is one of your priorities, you want to go back to school, do it. Does that necessarily mean that you have to go enroll in college or university? No. Maybe you educate yourself by coming to Women Wednesdays every Wednesday. Commit to being here on a weekly basis so that you can garner from your sisters who have knowledge and information that they want to share and impart with you, because we need to be generous with what we have and not be closed off and like, I know this, but I can't share it, because if I tell you my secret, then you're not going to be able to, then you're going to take away from me. No, we have Women Wednesdays for the generosity of being able to share and impart so that we can all rise and grow together. And so maybe that's it. Maybe it's, I like to use losing weight. Obviously, I don't need to lose any weight, but it's a very simple example of how you can take a big goal and break it down into something smaller. So maybe you want to, your goal is to lose 20 pounds this year. Well, break that down and how many pounds do I need to lose a week? And then break it down. Okay, well, how many calories do I need to cut in order to lose that much weight a week? Okay, then how many calories do I need to have each day to be on track to lose that weight? Then how much calories do I need to have with each meal in order to be on target for my calorie intake for the day, so that I'm on target for my calorie intake for the week, so I'm on target for my calorie intake for the year? Does that make sense? So take it and break it down into the most minute things so that it becomes easy. Make it easy for yourself to live it out. Don't make it more difficult than it has to be. You are in control of what you put on your plate. And I know a lot of times we feel like we're not really in control of what comes our way, but you have more control than you think you do. And just because someone is asking you to do something that is well within, so especially if you work for someone else and they're kind of in charge of your assignments, then put the onus back on them. When do you need this by? Don't stress yourself out thinking that I got to drop everything and do this right now. When do you need this by? Or you tell them, okay, I'm working on X, Y, Z right now. I can work on this, blah, blah, I can get this to you by blah, blah, blah. But a lot of us take on too much and we're like, oh, it has to be done right now, so then we drop everything and get focused on it, and then we've got all these different irons in the fire and nothing ever gets done. And I want to go back to the delegate. Just because your 9-year-old is not going to fold the clothes the way you fold the clothes doesn't mean that they can't do it. I had a friend, or have a friend who one time, it was some ungodly time. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning. Why? I don't even know why I was up, but for whatever reason I was. And she posted on Facebook that she was, just finishing up folding all these clothes. She had done so many loads of laundry and she was finishing up all these, folding all these clothes, and her kids were asleep. And I'm like, I know for a fact she has teenagers. At the time of this, they were teenagers. And I'm like, girl, why are you up at this ungodly hour folding clothes and you got able-bodied teenagers and you got to go to work in the morning? And she's like, well, they won't do it the way that I would do it. And I said, honey, is it more important that it gets done or that it gets done the way you want it done? And we get so caught up that we take on so much more than what we really need to take on. I hate washing dishes. I don't know why, I just don't. Like, I would literally rather clean the toilet every day than wash dishes. I don't know, I just never have liked washing dishes. So my husband is the dishwasher in our house. I do the cooking and all that. Well, he is a creative. And I am a very type A, everything has its place kind of person. And early in our marriage, we had a lot of conflict regarding the dishes because I would organize neatly all the stuff in the cabinets, all the round Tupperware was stacked neatly, all the square was in its place, all the rectangular stuff, and then there's the oddball stuff. But I had everything all nice and organized. And then he would wash the dishes, dry them, and put them away, just however he saw fit. They were in the cabinet. And I would literally be like, round goes with round, round goes with round. And we would have, not really arguments, but we would go back and forth about the stupid Tupperware in the cabinets. And then finally, I'm a woman of faith. Finally, God said to me, is it more important to you that the dishes are washed, dried, and put away, or that they're put away the way you want them? He's like, it's your issue, not his. Because I could very well wash the dishes myself and have it and do it the way I want it done. But I already told y'all I don't like washing dishes. So I was content. I said, you know what? That's really my issue. It's not the other person's issue. And so I relinquished that. Does it still bother me? Yeah, from time to time. And when it bothers me, do I say anything? Nope. I just go in there and rearrange it the way that I want it, and it's like that for a day or two, and then it's right back. And then it's right back the way it was. But I got my satisfaction in that moment. So stop taking on so much stuff that you don't have to take on. Let go. It's your issue, not the other person's issue, especially if it's your children. They have to learn sometime. And why not teach them? And then the last thing that I want to share with you all, ladies, is there is a very powerful word that we don't like to use, but is actually a gift both to you and to the person who hears it. Anyone want to guess what it is?
No.
No.
Mm-hmm. I don't know why we don't like to say that word. But simply saying no to things that you know you really don't want to do, or that are going to pull you away from what you have identified as your priority, it will change your life. I had a situation recently where I was asked by someone, well, not asked, I was told, it was more like they told me, like, I want you to blah, 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 blah for me. And immediately in my mind, I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't have time for that. I had done it once before, years prior, and so they had the same expectation that I would do it again for them. And I didn't want to outright say no because of the relationship that I have with this specific relationship I have with this person. So I said, and they know that I'm very busy. So I said, I'm really busy. Let me double check my schedule to see if I'm available that day, and I'll get back to you tomorrow. I went home, opened up my calendar, looked at the day, there wasn't nothing on it. It was clear as clear, because it was just a big old white space with a number. And I went back the next day and I said, I am so sorry, I am not available.
Call it mental health day. Mental health day. Nothing on your calendar, it's a mental health day, if you want to say no.
So it's okay to say, and I did not justify, I didn't explain what I was doing, I just simply said, I am unavailable. And that made me feel better about saying no. So whatever it is that you have to do to justify, because yes, no, I didn't have anything, and that's another thing that we're really good about. Just because we don't have something on our schedule, we just fill it up. If someone asks us, we just fill it up with, oh, well, okay, well, I don't have anything, so I guess I have to say yes. No, you don't. You can say, I'm not available. Even if all you plan to do is lay on the couch eating bonbons, watching Netflix all day. It is your life. It is your time. It is your schedule. And so you have to be the one to take control over what gets added in and what gets taken away. They're your priorities. And I want you to live the best life that you can possibly live, filled with the things that are fulfilling to you and not full of other people's ideas of what you should be doing, when you should be doing it, or how you should be doing it. You are the master of your own life. And so I hope that I have equipped you with the information to go out and perfectly unbalance your life so that you can have a priority-driven schedule rather than being stuck trying to figure out how to squeeze more in to the time that you have available. Does anybody have any questions?
Go first.
Yes.
So leaving here today, because I think you made a lot of sense, absolutely. So leaving here today, what would be the first ways that you would suggest to just get started?
Actually doing that exercise, sitting down and figuring out where you are with your priorities right now and where you want to be. Because if you don't have an end goal in mind, then you'll continue to do the same thing. You've already been living that way, most of you. So go ahead and evaluate, where am I now? Where do I want to go? And then start creating a plan to get there, wherever that place may be. Does that answer your question?
That would probably complicate it. Should you divide up into business and other, or keep it all together?
No, that business is a part of it. Whether you are in business for yourself or you work for someone else, either way, that's a piece of your priority. And if you're a friend of mine calls them parallelpreneurs. So if you're someone like me who works full time for someone else while building your business on the side, then you're going to have it still will fall under business, But then you gotta figure out, well, where do I interject that? So like, for example, for me, you have to know yourself, right? Your own body rhythms and when you have your most energy. And for me, it's in the morning, but I work for someone else. So the majority of my day belongs to someone else. And I was getting frustrated because I was trying to come home from work each night and work on my business, and I'm tired. And I don't have the mental capacity and the mental space to be as efficient and effective as I would like to be in the evening. And so I had a real talk conversation with myself, and I was like, Trisetta, if you're gonna move the needle in your business, you're gonna have to find another way to make this work. And so for me, that meant getting up earlier in the morning so that I give myself the best part of my day before I give myself to anyone else. And so I get up 5:30 in the morning, and I spend an hour in my home office first working on me. And so I don't know if any of you have ever heard of The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. He has a morning routine called the Life Savers, and SAVERS is an acronym that stands for silence, affirmations, visualization, exercise, reading, and scribing. And so I do all 6 of those things first. It usually takes me about an hour, but you can condense it. So I spend 10 minutes on each thing. So I take each box. And for me, silence, I do a really short devotion, and then I meditate for 10 minutes. And I do yoga exercises, or right now I've started to notice I was getting the jiggly arm, and I was like, oh no, you can't have that. So I started doing little small free weight exercises to work on that. But that way I'm first taking care of me, and then I spend another 30 minutes at my desk writing social media posts, writing blog posts, planning, whatever it is, and I have a set schedule. I also do what I call a weekly review. So I plan my entire week based off of my priorities. I put those big rocks on my schedule first. Identify what those big rocks are, and then I build the rest of my schedule around that so that I know that I'm always prepared. And then at the end, I do that on Sunday night. And at that same time, I also reflect on the previous week. So I'm like, okay, well, what went well last week? What didn't go so well? What can I do to ensure that doesn't happen again? So maybe because I had a really busy week, I didn't eat all that well. I ate fried chicken every day, and which contributed to a lack of energy. And so I wasn't focused and I wasn't productive. Okay, well, what can I do to keep me from, when I have a busy schedule, from eating fried chicken every day? Well, maybe I need to do some meal prep, or maybe I need to keep some healthy snacks in my desk at work so that when I get hungry, I can have something that's a healthy choice to chew on. And so that's one of the ways that I ensure that I stay on track according to my priorities. I kind of went all over the world on that one, but.
First of all, I want to thank God for you still being here. And that's a blessing to us. It's caring for us if nothing else. And we're thankful for that. But other thing I wanted to ask you is, as you prioritize the business part, can you use that same method to prioritize people?
I suppose you could. I have some people in my life who draw more energy from me than they put in me, and so I limit my, especially during really busy go times for myself, I limit my interaction with those people because I can't afford to have my energy drained when I'm going through, this week is crazy, has been crazy for me. I've got something, I was at Dr. Asha's Saturday for her She Tea. Monday I had my first mastermind event. Tuesday, last night I did a women's forum. Today I'm here. Tomorrow evening, my husband and I are leaving to go to Orlando to speak at a big conference down in Orlando for the weekend. So and then I'm back leading worship in church on Sunday morning and have to leave church early to be at work for the next session of our summer camp, which, is a whole nother beast. And so during busy seasons like this, I can't afford to be around people that's going to drain my energy. I need to connect with the people in my life who are going to pour back into me, who are going to encourage me, who are going to pray for me and build me up. And so those people don't see me. They get very limited access to my schedule. But then also at the same time, I need to make sure that I'm connecting with the people who do give me energy, so that when I'm having those moments of, I'm not good enough, I don't know how I can ever make it, why would anyone ever want to work with me, whatever, all those negative things that we tell ourselves that are just lies, then I can get with one of the people who, like Christy, who's going to be, who's going to pour into me and encourage and undergird me through that moment of, I don't feel like I'm good enough. Did that answer your question?
Very much.
Okay.
I'm in the process of feeling that weeding out, because I'm getting, what I'm trying to do for this business side, I'm getting more negative energy of those that just want to, I feel them go to the zoo. They're all looking for, they just want to look around and see what you're doing for ideas of their own.
Yeah.
And so, because I'm a people's person, and so in being in ministry as well, you have people around you, but I noticed when the more people that I'm trying to help, they need my energy more, who are drained from you, especially when you're dealing with abuse.
Yeah.
So, but what I'm trying to do, so you ask the question, so I need to prioritize and get, basically just clean out the whole house, with spring cleaning and start refreshing.
Hey, sometimes you have to do that. And you also have to evaluate, I love, Bishop T.D. Jakes said something, and I'm probably going to mess it up just because it was kind of long, but I'm going to do my best to kind of encapsulate what he said. He's like, the people that you need don't have very much time, but the people who need you need the majority of your time. And so you have to be very conscientious about who it is that you're surrounding yourself with, that you make sure that you can quickly get what you need from the person who has limited time that has what you need. Because you can't pour from an empty cup. And so fill you first, then pour out of your overflow into those who need you.
Okay. You got me on track, I'm ready to go.
Anybody else have a question? Well, thank you guys. Oh, did you have a question?
Do you have any suggestions about how to be somebody that is an encourager instead of a drainer?
You feel like you yourself are a trainer, or like?
No, I want to be an encourager. I don't want to be somebody that is draining to other people.
Selflessness. It's I went through a period. I've been sharing this a lot lately, but I went through a period where I really didn't have friends. It was my husband. My husband was my best friend. My daughter, they're my inner circle, and so that was all that I really had, because I had been hurt so much by quote unquote friends that I closed myself off. And so, but I recognized that I can't live like that forever. And so I wanted to start developing those relationships. And so one of the ways that I did that is to be of value to someone else. So it's the smallest things. We think we have to do really big things, and it's not. It's simply pick up your cell phone, shoot a text to someone that, we all have, let's be real, we all have those moments when we got someone on our mind that we haven't thought about in years, or we haven't seen them in a while, and for whatever reason, they flit across our mind, and maybe not too long after that, you run into them, and you're like, oh my gosh, I was just thinking about you the other day. Just pick up the phone and shoot a text, thinking about you, praying for you. I can't tell you how many times I have done that to my new circle of friends, and it's been, thank you so much. I really needed this today. And it made me simply like, good morning, Queen. Just want to let you know I love you. It's simple. We try to make overcomplicated. Simply be there and encourage, and you'll find that you will draw other people who are just like that. And always say nice things. Compliment people. show yourself friendly to others. When you're out and about, I charge you, each of you, to every single day try to find one person that you can say something good to compliment them, to build them up, give them the gift of your words. Just one person every single day. And that alone will help to change the culture in which that we live. You never know what that one word will mean to them. Does that answer
Well,
the
I'm gonna
question?
give you a compliment. Am I right?
Yeah.
So I want to give you a compliment. I just think that was outstanding. I think that was a really, really good presentation. That really touched me, but I made me learn a lot, and it was stuff I needed to know. So thank you so much. So thank